Hello and welcome back to The Session, where we take you through the highlights of the last Parliamentary Assembly session right here at the Council of Europe. In this edition, PACE elects a new president.
Madam President.
This year's Vaclav Havel Prize is announced.
The winner of the Vaclav Havel Human Rights Prize 2017 is Mr. Murat Arslan.
And language education under the spotlight. But first we start with Petro Poroshenko. The president of Ukraine addressed PACE, saying his country is fighting a war on two fronts, implementing complex reforms, while at the same time countering military aggression and restoring territorial integrity.
Moscow continues to turn the blind eye to its commitment under the Minsk Agreement. Its military forces are still on the territory of Ukraine, both in Crimea and in Donbass. Military assets are still delivered to illegal entities created by Russia. And every day we receive more worrying news about the blatant violation of human rights on the occupied territories.
President Poroshenko also tackled the controversial issue of newly introduced education legislation in Ukraine concerning the teaching of minority languages.
Could you imagine that the pupils which finishing the British, German, French school cannot speak English, French, and German? How they can survive in the country? Can you imagine that 75% of the graduates which finished the school in Beregovo failed the test on Ukrainian language?
Ukraine's new law governing the teaching of Ukrainian and minority languages was the subject of a debate during the plenary session. According to parliamentarians, the new legislation does not appear to strike an appropriate balance between the official language and the languages of national minorities. Here's just a flavour of that debate.
We got the situation where Ukrainian authorities has a plan to go from the monolingual education to the education in the state language with some part of having still the minority language. It was not done during the 20 years, so it is understandable. But what is a matter of concern for me, I think it is unrealistic to go this very complicated process during 3 years.
We congratulate the Ukrainian government for sending this Education Act to the Venice Commission in order to get an opinion so as to obtain advice on how to find balance in the implementation of this point. And yesterday we were also happy to learn from the President that Ukraine will wait for this opinion from the Venice Commission before approving the law that will regulate the reforms of the secondary school.
We would like to express our disappointment with the fact that the Venice Commission has not been consulted well in advance for an opinion on such an important question with major implication for the Ukrainian society.
I'm proud to be an author of the Article 7 of the debated law, and I perfectly remember the procedure. We used to get a compromise in Verkhovna Rada, in the Parliament of Ukraine. Speaker of Verkhovna Rada not only did invite the representatives of both coalition and opposition, also individual MPs which districts have some national minorities were also present, including the highest representative of Crimean Tatar minority. There was a nice, frank and straight discussion. Nobody was happy, but everyone decided that we are okay to work with that.
Politics is the art of living together. This living together is at the heart of all European norms and conventions, including the Charter on Minority Languages, the Convention on Protecting the Rights of Minorities, the Convention on Human Rights itself. And all these conventions were violated when the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine decided that it would adopt this new law on education.
Parliamentarians voted 82 to 11 with 17 abstentions in favour of a resolution asking Ukraine to fully implement the recommendations and conclusions of the Venice Commission and to modify the new Education Act in line with the Venice Commission's findings. Now, the 2017 Vaclav Havel Human Rights Prize has been awarded to Murat Arslan, a former rapporteur of the Turkish Constitutional Court, who's been in detention since 2016. Murat Arslan, president of the now dissolved Association for the Union of Judges and Prosecutors, is a strong supporter of the independence of the judiciary. Mr. Arslan wrote his acceptance speech in detention, and his words were read out on his behalf during the ceremony.
I am absolutely delighted and honored to receive this prize, which bears the name of a great intellectual and politician, Vaclav Havel, a prize which, thanks to the moral support that it represents, will be a great contribution to those who are fighting in my country for rights and freedoms. And I would like to dedicate it to all those who are deprived of their job unjustly, all the workers who've been thrown in prison, and all those who are fighting for rights and freedoms.
The two other shortlisted nominees were the Hungarian Helsinki Committee, an NGO which focuses on access to justice and the rights of asylum seekers and refugees, and Father Georg Sporschil, a Jesuit priest who has devoted his life to the care of the most vulnerable. Now, debating reports on Azerbaijan, the Assembly raised a number of concerns, particularly with regard to checks and balances, the functioning of the justice system and the human rights situation there. PACE members regretted that the 2014 Azerbaijani chairmanship of the Committee of Ministers coincided with an unprecedented crackdown on human rights. The President of the Czech Republic, Miloš Zeman, addressed the Parliamentary Assembly in a visit which coincided with the Czech chairmanship of the Committee of Ministers. In his address, the President said that the role of the Council of Europe was to strengthen the friendship between European nations.
Why do you try to divide political structure of Europe if you would be against division of European culture? And that's why I believe that the endeavor of Council of Europe towards the friendship and not hostility, not hatred among European nations, including Russian one, will be successful, maybe in the long term.
Following the resignation of President Pedro Agramunt, the Parliamentary Assembly elected a new president. Stella Kyriakides is the 30th PACE president, the first from Cyprus and the third woman to become president.
My priority is to bring about calmness, consensus, credibility and unity, to work tirelessly and openly against corruption, to raise the bar so that we all follow the same principles and code of ethics. To do this, I will need the support of all political groups, of the Secretary General and the staff of the Council of Europe.
In this context, responding to allegations of corruption in its ranks, the Assembly unanimously adopted a heavily revised code of conduct for its members, with the aim of restoring public confidence in its work. That's all from me. Until next time, goodbye.